we bring in one of our very own, #one of us, Sam Ekstrom from Locked On Minnesota. We're going to talk more Wolves and preview Game 2 a little bit, plus a little Wild Talkers as they win 5-4 over the Sharks last night in OT. Follow him on Twitter, @Sam Ekstrom. How you doing, buddy?
Doing excellent. Good to make my debut on Superior Sports Talk. Reggie, Luke, love what you're doing so far. Pumped to be on with you.
Appreciate it, Sam. I mean, we're right in the thick of some Wolves talkers. Again, you saw it Saturday. They still Game 1. How about just a knee-jerk reaction, some quick overall kind of bullet points or keys to the game that you saw from that Game 1 victory over Memphis?
Yeah, I said this on the Ron Johnson show earlier today. The Wolves came in very low on experience, as were the Grizzlies, and I felt like the Wolves were the more seasoned of the two teams. They had the fast start. They had the good finish. They were better at rebounding. They were better at free throws. They did all the things that you would expect a team without experience to falter in, and they excelled in those areas. And except for a couple little runs where Memphis kind of threatened, it seemed like the Wolves had a lot of control over that game. They were the more poised team. They got to loose balls. They were just working harder and riding that momentum wave off of the Clippers play-in win. So I was really encouraged that was a sustainable model, that they can continue that forward as this series goes on. They still didn't even get a lot from D'Angelo Russell. They still, didn't get as many free throw attempts as Memphis. I mean, there were parts of that game that the Wolves had to overcome, and they did so beautifully with Edwards and Cat and Beasley all working really well together.
Sam, it's kind of cool to see them actually do this stuff this time, right? Like, I feel like coming here to Minnesota, everybody is just always so pessimistic about their sports teams, and it's just the Wolves can be up by 25, and people are just don't even fall for it. It's not gonna happen. But to see them actually finish the job and do what they were supposed to do in Game 1, that was pretty encouraging to see. And do you feel like that is gonna carry over to Game 2 at all?
Yeah, human nature, I think, is going to lend itself toward the Timberwolves having a little bit of a letdown. I think you probably tell yourself, hey, we did our job. We won 1 of 2 on the road. This game is gravy. We're playing with house money. And Memphis, on the other hand, will go in with all the urgency in the world after having made some adjustments. So I think it's going to be tough to get that type of efficiency from Cat, that type of performance from Edwards on a game-to-game basis. You might need to fill in the cracks with someone off the bench. Taurean Prince might have to have a big game. Jaden McDaniels might have to have a bigger game. So that they are going to have to find other sources. They can't always just rely on the stars, and Memphis has better depth than the Timberwolves. That's one advantage. So I think that while it's going to be tough to win Game 2, of course, Memphis is still going to be favored to win that game. The Timberwolves have proven time and time again this year that they can go into tough environments and grind out wins. I've seen them do it at Philadelphia, at Milwaukee, at the Knicks. I mean, these aren't easy environments in which to win, and the Timberwolves kept doing that, and that's why they're a 46-win team. You have to beat some good teams along the way. So the Timberwolves are not going to be phased, I don't think, by any environments. They have enough swagger, and Edwards kind of sets the tone for that. He's just unflappable, and I think that lends itself well.
I could talk Wolves with you two all day. Unfortunately, we got to switch gears and talk Minnesota Wild, who did play tonight. But before I do that, I put Reggie on the spot. I got to put Sam on the spot. You're starting a team tomorrow. Who you picking? Ja Morant or Anthony Edwards? I want to get inside the elite NBA head of Sam Ekstrom here for a second.
I think Edwards has a little bit more depth to his game. I think he's got that physicality where I like him as a high-end defender once he reaches his full potential. I think he's maybe a better three-point shooter than Ja. Ja has not necessarily been an outside guy. He's more of that slasher, attacker, rise up and dunk over you. He's a great finisher. But I think Edwards, with just the way that he can dictate a game, the way that he can shoot from 28 feet, he can shoot the mid-range, he can finish at the rim. There's no part of the court where he's not a threat. I think I like Edwards, especially when you look at his age 20, still the second year in the league, and he's doing this. He's a little ahead of where Morant was in his second year. I think I take Edwards long term.
So the Wild ended up winning 5-4 last night. Remember going in, Sam, there was a lot of different storylines. Can they clinch a playoff berth? They needed 1 point to do so. Number of injuries going into that game. Matt Dumba, Jordan Greenway, Tyson Jost, all sitting out. But in the end, it was maybe another uncharacteristic game from Marc-Andre Fleury, but ultimately, Kevin Fiala, I mean, he's playing like a man amongst boys, 4 points in all. They clinched the playoff spot in overtime. Sam, what was just a couple overall reactions or takeaways from last night's game in overtime to clinch that playoff spot?
Yeah, boy, it's nice to have a guy like Fiala. And there was scuttlebutt that they might, deal him before the season or at the deadline, that maybe he wasn't going to be on this team long term. And I think he's definitely forcing their hand that they might need to consider, making him paid up there right up with Kaprizov, because just the subtle things too. I mean, that first goal that Kulikov scored, just the tight little stick handle in congestion. He gets rid of the puck to the point, a shot and a goal. The way he distributes and the way that he just maintains possession is next level. And then you see what he can do in overtime. I guess I thought that he scored the game-winning goal in real time. I guess it was tipped in by Spurgeon, but he gets the assist on it. He had 4 points on the day. And on a day when Kaprizov was relatively quiet, he obviously put some shots on net, but he didn't have his best game. And Fiala absolutely carried them to victory in a tricky, second game of a back-to-back.
Sam, I'm from St. Louis, obviously. So grew up, and I wouldn't say I grew up rooting for the Blues, but they were a part of the culture in St. Louis. They seem to be like one of the hottest teams right now in the league, and the Wild are right behind them. How do you see things playing out?
Yeah, the Blues make me nervous, and the way that the NHL playoffs are structured, obviously, there's going to pit two really good teams in the first round, which is atypical to what you'd see in like the NBA. I mean, the Blues and Wild, I think both would go into the playoffs thinking we can win the Stanley Cup, and one of them is going to be gone in the first round. Mm-hmm. The Blues can put goals on the board, man. I mean, they put 6 on the Wild on Saturday, turn around, go to Nashville and score 8. They're putting up like football scores on teams. That's crazy. Yeah, the Blues are deep. They're tough. They got high-end talent. Tarasenko is unbelievable. Good goaltending. And the Wild have struggled in that building as well. They've got some ghosts of the past as well against St. Louis. They lost to them in a playoff series when the Wild were heavy favorites a few years ago. So it's hard for me to say definitively the Wild can win that series when St. Louis, I think, has won like 9. They're 9-0-1 in their last 10. They're playing their best hockey at the end of the year. I would be nervous if I were Minnesota.
Yeah, little room for error here down the stretch. Again, 7 games left for the Wild. They take on the Canadiens tomorrow night in Montreal as they try to stay stride for stride with the Blues for that 2 seed. Sam Ekstrom on Twitter at Sam Ekstrom, part of the Locked On Minnesota Network. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks a lot, Sam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you, Sam.
See ya.
Sam Ekstrom. Unbelievable. Good stuff, Reggie. As usual from Sam. I'm just curious as we kind of wrap up this Wild talk. 7 games left. Again, it seems like when you watch the trajectory of the Wild, I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, still kind of shuffling these goalies back and forth. But you just brought it up. The Blues, they're just red hot right now. How do you see this last little stretch shaking out for this Wild as they try to lock up that 2 seed against the Blues?
Man, it's gonna be tough, man. You kind of hope that the Blues just kind of stub their toe, because it's just like they're playing like some absolutely fantastic hockey right now, and you want to just give Marc-Andre Fleury the benefit of the doubt, knowing that he's a legend. He's been through things before, but it's a little touch and go there. Or when you see him giving up, all those goals like that, you're just like, dang, man.
A couple 5-hole goals, like that's just uncharacteristic, man.
Yeah, it's just like, look, just like kind of how we said with Cat, like you kind of have to give guys leeway to have a bad game here or there, and good. Lucky for the Wild is, when they get into the playoffs, there'll be, series. So, if they do have a bad game from him or something like that, then, you've seen enough of him in his career, his legendary career, to believe that he won't repeat similar performances again. So, you get a little concerned about that, but honestly, man, like this Wild team just has a lot of confidence like that. No matter who they get down to, they're always going to be able to, overcome. And, you got a overtime goal like that, like to go home. Like I made a tweet last night, like, you don't want to go to overtime with the Wild. Like it just usually never goes well. Like I guess unless you're playing the Blues, goodness gracious.
Well, maybe. I mean, yeah.
But usually most times it goes well for the Wild when you're talking about going to OT. And I think the team has confidence despite some of the tough losses that they've had here down the stretch. Like I think they're going to be okay no matter what happens.
I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but you just watched last night's game. It just goes to show you again. They get up 2-rip real quick. You think, okay, easy breezy, lemon peasy. This one's done. Shut off the lights. Let's see what else is on TV. Sharks, they let them back in, 2-2. They go to overtime, but it was about 10 minutes left in the third period. Mm-hmm. It's just like they flipped on a switch from the energy to the speed to you name it. Everything they started playing, it was like night and day from the lull that they kind of got caught in the second period, got way outshot in the second period, still struggling with a lot of power plays. By the way, that special teams unit continues to look very sub-average as they, again, try to go down this last 7-game stretch. I like what you said. Hopefully the Blues just stub their toe, man, because as of right now, it's not feeling that great as far as just this final stretch and momentum when you look at the trajectory both these teams are on.